A Fieldcraft Chronicles documentary guide. Picture this. Dawn breaks over the Somme in 1916, and through the acrid smoke and mud-choked trenches, a different kind of warfare unfolds. Beyond the official ration lines and quartermaster depots, an entire underground economy thrives in the apocalyptic landscape of the Western Front. Soldiers don't just fight and die here. They trade, barter, and innovate, creating survival networks that would later reshape the very foundations of modern commerce. This is the story of how desperate men in desperate places invented the marketplace of the future, one illicit cigarette trade and scavenged supply at a time. When paper money became meaningless in the trenches, soldiers created their own economic system, and at its center was the cigarette. A Tommy might receive his official ration, but the real value emerged in the elaborate trading networks that sprang up between British, French, Canadian, and even German lines during unofficial truces. A packet of Woodbines could buy you a German belt buckle as a souvenir. 3 could secure a bottle of wine liberated from a French farmhouse, and a full carton might convince a cook to slip you extra rations for a week. The men learned what economists would later formalize. In conditions of extreme scarcity, value becomes divorced from official currency and attaches itself to whatever is portable, divisible, and universally desired. The trenches became a laboratory for understanding supply, demand, and the psychology of exchange under pressure. The official supply chains of the Great War were marvels of industrial coordination, yet they were perpetually inadequate. Soldiers quickly became experts in what we might call adaptive procurement, a polite term for the systematic scavenging that kept men alive when regulations failed. A collapsed dugout wasn't just debris. It was corrugated iron for roofing, timber for reinforcement, and sandbags that could be repurposed for a dozen uses. Shell casings became drinking cups, storage containers, and even crude stoves when cut and modified. The men developed an almost supernatural ability to assess the value of any object in their environment, mentally cataloguing its potential uses before it even came into their possession. This wasn't mere survival instinct. It was the birth of modern just-in-time logistics, learned not in business schools but in the muddy hell of Passchendaele and Verdun. Few items held more power in the trench economy than rum. The official SRD, service rum diluted, was dispensed before dawn stand-to and before going over the top. But its real value emerged in the shadow markets that operated behind the lines. Sergeants and quartermasters wielded enormous informal power through their control of rum distribution, and a complex system of favours, debts, and obligations grew around this single commodity. Men would trade their personal belongings, perform extra duties, or take on dangerous tasks for an extra tot. Some enterprising soldiers even learned to distill their own spirits from stolen sugar and fermented fruit, creating primitive stills in abandoned cellars and hidden corners of support trenches. These weren't just men getting drunk, they were creating the prototype for commodity futures, understanding scarcity pricing, and building trust networks that could mean the difference between survival and death when official systems collapsed entirely. The shadow economy of the Great War didn't end with the armistice. The soldiers who survived carried home an education in scarcity economics, barter systems, and survival commerce that would shape the post-war world. Many became the entrepreneurs of the 1920s, applying their hard-won understanding of supply chains and black markets to legitimate business. The logistics innovations born from desperate necessity, from route optimization to inventory management under uncertainty, became the foundations of modern operations research. Even today, when you see modern supply chain management or witness how markets function during crises, you're seeing the echo of lessons learned in the mud a century ago. The trenches taught us that in the crucible of scarcity, human ingenuity doesn't just survive, it creates entirely new systems of exchange and value. For those of us who study fieldcraft and preparedness, this history offers more than fascinating stories, and it provides a blueprint for resilience, showing us that adaptation, creativity, and community can forge order from chaos and commerce from catastrophe. If this journey through the hidden economies of warfare has opened your eyes to the intersection of survival, history, and human ingenuity, subscribe to Fieldcraft Chronicles. Share this with anyone who understands that the most valuable lessons in preparedness come from those who had no choice but to master them. The past has much to teach us about the future. We just need to listen